Welcome to Monk's Moon Temple. Find a place where you can be comfortable, where you are supported, where you can truly let go. Close your eyes if you wish. Allow your attention to soften. There is no goal to reach here tonight. No state to achieve. We are simply going to explore the landscape of your own mind with a gentle curiosity, guided by insights that have been passed down for millennia in the Buddhist tradition. These are not commands for how to think, but invitations for how to see. And in that seeing, a deep, natural rest often finds its way in. So let go of any expectation. Release the need to get this right. And simply listen, as if to a quiet, kind voice in the dark, reminding you of what you have always known, but may have simply forgotten in the busyness of the day. Let's begin not with a struggle, but with a simple observation. Notice, right now, the fact that you are aware. You are aware of the sound of these words. You are aware of sensations in your body, the weight against the surface beneath you, the temperature of the air on your skin. You are aware of thoughts passing through, like faint clouds in a vast sky. This capacity to be aware, to know your experience, is the most fundamental thing about you. It is the canvas upon which the entire painting of your life, with all its colors of joy and streaks of sorrow, appears. And it is to this aware space that we will return, again and again, as our true home. Not a home you need to build, but a home you already, and always, inhabit. I'd like to share a story with you. It's an original one, from my own reflections. I once watched a master potter at his wheel. He worked with a deep, quiet focus. A lump of clay, centered and wet, spun before him. With the slightest, most tender pressure from his thumbs, a shape began to emerge from the center. A bowl. But then, a wobble. The clay lost its perfect symmetry. A novice might have panicked, pressed harder, forced it back to center. But the master did something else. He simply stopped applying pressure. He let his hands hover, not touching the clay, and he watched. He allowed the wheel to keep spinning, and something remarkable happened. The clay, finding its own equilibrium within the spin, settled. The wobble smoothed out, all by itself. Only then did he bring his hands back, with that same tender pressure, to continue guiding the form. Our minds are so often like that wobbling clay. A thought arises, off-center, fearful, urgent. And our instinct is to press. To grasp the thought, to wrestle with it, to try and force it back into a shape of peace or control. We apply mental pressure, worry, analysis, resistance. And just like on the wheel, this pressure often increases the wobble, the sense of being off balance, especially as we lie in the quiet dark. Buddhism offers us the wisdom of the potter. It doesn't teach us to become perfect masters of thought, to never have a wobble. It teaches us the power of non-interference. The power of, for a moment, letting our hands of mental control hover. Of stopping the pressure of our engagement, and simply allowing the natural spin of awareness to continue. When we stop pressing on a thought, when we stop trying to force it into a different shape, it often, like the clay, finds its own equilibrium and settles. Not because we fixed it, but because we stopped disturbing it. Sleep, deep and natural, is often what emerges in that space of non-disturbance. It is the bowl that forms itself when we are not in the way. If this idea of resting as the aware space, of allowing the mind to settle without force, resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe to Monk's Moon Temple. It is a way to have this gentle companion with you, a reminder to return to this center when the world, or your own thoughts, feels wobbly. Now, let's return to the wheel, to the spin of this present moment. This brings us to a core insight. We spend our lives, and particularly our restless nights, believing we are the clay. The constantly changing, often wobbly substance of our thoughts and feelings. We say, I am anxious, I am overwhelmed, I am my past. We identify with the temporary form. But Buddhism, with great compassion and clarity, points out that this is a case of mistaken identity. You are not the clay. You are the awareness within which the clay spins. You are not the thought. You are the knowing space in which the thought appears, lingers, and dissolves. Think of it like this. Imagine you are the sky, boundless, open, clear. Thoughts and emotions are the weather in the sky. A storm of anxiety may roll through. Dark clouds of regret may gather. A bright sunrise of joy may break. The sky does not become the storm. It does not cling to the sunrise. It does not resist the clouds. It holds them all, impartially, and they pass. They are events in the sky, not definitions of the sky. Your essential nature is that sky-like awareness. The nightly turmoil is the weather you are mistakenly trying to control, forgetting you are the vast container that can never be damaged by any temporary condition. This misidentification is the root of so much suffering, and it becomes painfully obvious at bedtime. You lie down, and the weather report of the mind begins, forecast, high winds of worry, followed by a low-pressure system of self-criticism. And you believe you are that weather. You brace against it. You try to think your way out of the storm. But you are the one hearing the forecast. You are the aware presence to whom all of this is being reported. The moment you notice, the worry weather channel is playing again, you have taken the first step out of the storm and into the sky. You have remembered your true identity as the spacious witness, not the chaotic content. This is not about defeating thoughts. It's about changing your relationship to them. From being a prisoner inside the thought, to being the warden who can see all the prisoners coming and going, without opening any of the cells. A thought says, tomorrow will be a disaster. Instead of putting on your coat and stepping into that imagined disaster, you can, from your seat as the warden, simply note, cell block C is vocal tonight. Catastrophic prediction is making noise again. You acknowledge its presence. But you don't have to enter the cell and live there. This simple shift in perspective, from being the thought to being the awareness of the thought, is revolutionary. It drains the urgency, the personal sting, from the mental noise. The thought may still be unpleasant, but it loses its power to define your reality. It becomes a passing sound in the night, not a command you must obey. So tonight, we practice being the sky. We practice being the warden, not the prisoner. We practice being the aware potter who knows when to let the wheel spin on its own. We are not trying to create a blank mind. We are cultivating a spacious mind. A mind that has room for all of its own weather, without being consumed by it. As you rest here now, see if you can feel the difference between the content of your experience, the thoughts, the sensations, and the aware, knowing field in which they are all happening. This knowing field is steady, silent, and always present. It is your refuge. It is where rest begins. Let's bring this into the body for a moment. Where do you feel the sense of being the aware space? It's not located in one spot. It's more like a field of knowing that includes the entire body, and beyond. Gently rest your attention in this feeling of being the container of your experience. Feel the body breathing within this aware space. Feel the heart beating here. Sounds from the room appear here, in this aware field. Thoughts float through here. You are the here in which everything is happening. There is no need to manage what appears. Your only task is to rest as the here, the aware presence. Notice how the body responds when you do this. There is often a subtle, but profound, release. A softening. The nervous system begins to understand, the one in charge is not the frantic thinker. The one in charge is this calm, knowing presence. And in that understanding, the guard can stand down. The effort of maintaining a separate, threatened self can relax. This is the gateway. This is where the journey of the night truly begins, not with a fight, but with a homecoming. Let's continue. Having remembered the sky-like nature of awareness, we can look more closely at one of the most persistent storms that sweeps through, the storm of craving. This is a central teaching in Buddhism, and it goes far deeper than simply wanting a piece of chocolate or a new car. At night, craving wears a very clever disguise. It masquerades as responsibility, as problem-solving, as necessary planning. It whispers, if you just think this through one more time, you'll find relief. It promises that peace lies on the other side of figuring everything out. But here is the liberating, if uncomfortable, truth that Buddhist psychology reveals: craving is not the solution to your restlessness, it is the very engine of it. The mind isn't restless because it thinks. It's restless because it wants relief from thinking, and it wrongly believes that more thinking is the way to get it. It's a dog chasing its own tail, convinced the capture is just one more spin away. Let me illustrate with an original story. There was a man who lived by a wide, peaceful river. He had a small, comfortable boat. But he was tormented by the desire to be on the other shore. Over there, he thought, the grass is greener. The light is better. My life would finally be calm. Every evening, as the sun set, he would climb into his boat and row with all his might toward the far bank. But the current was strong, and he was always tired from the day. He would row until exhausted, make little progress, and then drift back to his own shore in the dark, frustrated and sleepless. He never noticed that on his own side of the river, in the very spot he launched from, there was a soft, grassy bank perfect for rest. He was so fixated on the other shore. The shore of resolved problems, guaranteed outcomes, and perfect conditions, that he exhausted himself nightly, missing the peace available right where he was. Your mind, before sleep, is often that man in the boat. The other shore is tomorrow's solved problem, yesterday's rewritten conversation, a future state of certainty. The rowing is the frantic, circular thinking. And the peaceful bank you're ignoring is this present moment, exactly as it is, with the body tired and ready for rest. Craving is the compulsive reaching for the other shore. It says, I can only be okay when I get there. But there is a mirage created by thought. The only real place you can ever be is here. So Buddhism invites a profound and simple question before sleep: what is the mind actually craving right now? Look beneath the surface of the thoughts. Is it craving certainty? Control? Approval? Vindication? The feeling of safety? See if you can identify the core demand. For me to be at peace, X must happen, or Y must be true. Then, with great gentleness, ask, can that demand actually be satisfied by thought, right now, in this bed? Almost always, the honest answer is no. You cannot think your way into certainty about tomorrow. You cannot mentally rehearse your way into controlling another person's actions. The demand itself is the source of the tension. Seeing this clearly is like dropping the oars. The boat stops its frantic struggle. You are still in the river of life, but you are no longer exhausting yourself trying to reach an imaginary shore. This isn't passivity. It's intelligent conservation of energy. It's the recognition that some journeys are for daylight, and the night is for beaching the boat. When you see craving for what it is, a mechanical habit of mind that promises relief but only delivers fatigue, its power weakens. You can feel the urge to row, to plan, to replay, as a sensation in the body. A tightness in the chest, a buzzing in the limbs, a mental clutching. Instead of following the urge, just feel it. Let the craving be fully felt, as pure physical energy, without acting on it. When craving is met with mindful awareness instead of mental action, it burns out like a match with nothing left to ignite. It needs the fuel of your engagement to keep going. This leads us to another beautiful and powerful tool from the Buddhist tradition, the direct contemplation of impermanence. We often treat this as a philosophical idea, a somber truth to accept. But at night, it becomes a practical, immediate ally. Your suffering in the dark is rarely about a pain that is absolute. It is about a pain you believe is permanent. This anxiety will never end. I'll always feel this regret. My mind will race like this forever. The mind, left to its own devices, assumes permanence. It takes a temporary state and builds a forever story around it. But what if you became a scientist of your own experience? What if you investigated, with gentle curiosity, the actual lifespan of a thought or a feeling? You don't need to believe me. Just watch. A worry arises. Observe it. Don't feed it with more story. Just watch its natural behavior. You'll see it peak, like a wave. And then, if you don't jump on top of it to surf it into the future, it will begin to subside. It will change shape. It may transform into a different thought, or it may dissolve back into the quiet of the mind. It is impermanent. An ache of sadness in the heart. Feel it precisely. Notice its texture, its weight. Watch it without naming it, my permanent sorrow. You will feel it pulse, shift, maybe soften, perhaps intensify briefly before fading. It is in motion. It is impermanent. Even a pleasurable feeling of relaxation, if you cling to it and fear its loss, creates tension. Watch it too. It will also change. This observation isn't cold or detached. It is the ultimate kindness. It proves to your nervous system, in real time, that no state is final. The prison you feel trapped in has no permanent walls, they are made of smoke, continually dissolving and reforming. When you see this, the panic of imprisonment eases. You realize you are in a flowing stream, not a locked cage. The stream may have rough sections, but it is always moving. You don't have to make it move. It is doing that on its own. This understanding also tenderly dismantles the solid sense of a fixed, suffering self. I am an insomniac becomes, the thought, I can't sleep is passing through. I am a worrier becomes, a habit of worry is manifesting in this moment. The I becomes less of a solid noun and more of a verb, a process of aware experiencing. This is incredibly freeing. The weight of a permanent, flawed identity is a weight you were never meant to carry. You can put it down, simply by noticing that every component of that identity is in a state of flux. So tonight, practice being the gentle scientist. Let the laboratory of your awareness study the principle of impermanence in real time. Watch thoughts come and go. Feel feelings rise and fall. Sense sensations appear and dissolve. There is a deep, rhythmic intelligence to this flow. Your job is not to stop the river, but to trust it. To learn that you can float in it, even through the rapids, because you see they are temporary. The body, when it learns this trust, unclenches. The breath deepens. Sleep becomes the natural, gentle eddy in the river's flow where you can rest. Let us continue to float in this river of awareness. As we observe the impermanent flow of thoughts and feelings, we often encounter a particular, stubborn set of currents. These are the currents of resistance. This is where we exhaust ourselves, far more than any physical labor ever could. Buddhism points to a profound and sobering truth: you are not tired because of what happened today. You are tired because of your ongoing, internal argument with what happened. You are fighting ghosts in a battle that ended hours ago. Resistance is the refusal to let reality be what it already is. It shows up as the late-night replay, the re-edit conversation where you said the perfect thing, the mental courtroom where you prosecute yourself or others for past actions. It feels like analysis, like reflection, like necessary processing. But in the stillness of night, it reveals its true nature. It is a futile, energy-burning war against a history that is already fixed. Think of your mind as a scribe, tasked with writing the chronicle of your day. The events are over, the ink is dry on the parchment. But the scribe of resistance is not satisfied. He scratches out lines, tries to write in new ones, spills ink in frustration, and stays up all night making a messy palimpsest of a page that was already complete. His labor changes nothing about the day that was lived. It only ruins his rest and ensures he will be a bleary, ineffective scribe for tomorrow. The fatigue you carry is the heat generated by this friction. The friction of your mind grinding against the immutable granite of what is. Notice how it feels in the body, the jaw tight, the shoulders braced as if for a fight, the breath held shallow in the chest. This is the physiology of a civil war, fought on the battlefield of your own nervous system. Sleep requires surrender, but resistance holds the system in a state of red alert, long after the actual events have passed. A crucial distinction must be made here, one that Buddhism clarifies with great precision. Acceptance is not approval. Letting the argument end is not the same as saying what happened was okay, or fair, or good. It is a simple, strategic cessation of hostilities. It is the scribe putting down his pen and saying, "The chronicle for this day is written. I will not set the parchment on fire with my frustration." You can acknowledge a profound hurt, a deep injustice, a personal failure, without continuing to pour the fuel of your mental energy onto it every night. The memory itself may hold pain, but the suffering, the added layer of burning resistance, is optional. It is the extra weight you choose, or can choose to put down. I recall an original story about a farmer and his neighbor. The farmer had a beautiful, ancient oak tree on the edge of his property. One night, a terrible storm blew through and the great oak was struck by lightning, split in two, its mighty form now a shattered wreck on the ground. The farmer was devastated. He loved that tree. For weeks afterward, Every morning at dawn, he would go out to the broken trunk and push against it with all his might, grunting and straining, his face red with effort, trying to make it stand upright again. His neighbor, watching this daily ritual, finally asked, "Why do you do this?" "It cannot stand." The farmer, sweating and panting, replied, "I cannot accept that it has fallen." We smile at the farmer's folly, but how often do we do this in the dark? We push mentally against events that are already over, relationships that have already changed, words that have already been spoken, trying with all our might to make them stand upright into a different, preferable reality. The exhaustion is immense. And it is utterly unnecessary. Acceptance is the moment the farmer finally stops pushing. He sits down on the fallen trunk. He might weep for its loss. But he is no longer burning his energy in a fight with gravity and fate. He is present with what is, a fallen tree, a memory of its grandeur, and the soft earth that now supports him. Before sleep, practice this strategic surrender. Instead of replaying the day's movie, try simply stating the facts, like a neutral historian. This happened. That was said. This feeling arose. No blame, no sequel, no alternate ending. Just the simple, unadorned facts of the completed day. You may feel a wave of discomfort, that is the withdrawal from the addictive drug of resistance. And when that wave passes, you will often feel a physical release so immediate it is startling. Muscles you didn't know were clenched let go. The breath sighs its way down into the belly. This is not a relaxation technique working. This is the nervous system receiving the ceasefire orders. The war is over. The body can finally stand down from its state of mobilization. This cessation of resistance also loosens the grip of identity. So much of who we think we are is built on what we are against. The victim, the hero, the misunderstood genius, the person who was wronged. These are roles sustained by the energy of resistance. When you stop fighting the past, these roles lose their script. This can feel threatening, like losing a familiar, if painful, piece of clothing. We would sometimes rather be exhausted in a role we know than feel the nakedness of peace. But that nakedness is your natural state. It is the space before the story, the awareness before the identity. It is where rest lives. So tonight, end your shift as the scribe. Stop pushing the fallen tree. Let the chronicle of the day be complete, with all its imperfections. Your worth is not determined by your ability to mentally rewrite history. Your peace is available right now, in the simple, courageous act of putting down the argument. Lay down the weapons of replay and regret. Feel the profound relief that floods the body when it realizes the battle is truly over. In that relief, deep and healing rest becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Let's continue. As the internal arguments quiet, we can perceive something that has been running constantly beneath them. It is a deep, often unconscious, project, the construction and maintenance of self. This is not the aware space we spoke of earlier, the sky-like presence. This is the intricate, detailed sculpture we are constantly carving out of that space, day after day, thought after thought. Buddhism examines this project not to destroy it, but to see its cost, especially when the tools should be set down for the night. From the moment you wake, you are assembling. You assemble a you out of memories, opinions, comparisons, successes, failures, roles, and relationships. This assembled self feels solid, real, and necessary. It is the character you play in the drama of daily life. And like any dedicated actor, you pour immense energy into the role. Protecting its reputation, defending its lines, polishing its image, fearing its criticism. This is not a personality flaw, it is a deeply conditioned human process. But here is the insight: this self is a construction. A very useful, functional one for navigating the social and practical world. But a construction nonetheless. It is like a sandcastle you build with great care on the shore. It has turrets and moats and flags. You defend it from the waves. You compare it to other castles. You feel pride in its architecture or shame in its flaws. Then night comes, and the tide of sleep approaches. And instead of walking up to the soft dunes to rest, you lie down right in front of your castle, trying to hold back the ocean with your hands, desperately patting the walls as the water rises. The exhaustion is immense because you are fighting a natural force, the dissolving tide of unconsciousness, to protect something that was, by its very nature, temporary. The self you defend all day is that sandcastle. At night, it becomes a burden. The machinery of self-maintenance doesn't have an off switch. It keeps running. What did they think of me? Am I good enough? I need to be better tomorrow. This is the voice of the castle's architect and guard, working a night shift for which there is no pay, only depletion. Buddhism invites a radical experiment before sleep, to set down the tools of construction. Not forever. Just for now. You are not needed to be a parent, a professional, a success, a failure, a good person, or a bad person in this moment. All of those roles can resume their performance tomorrow, if needed. Right now, in the dark, there is no audience. No one to perform for. No scoreboard. You are granted a temporary reprieve from the exhausting work of being somebody. This can trigger a subtle but profound fear. The mind whispers, if I stop maintaining this story, I will disappear. If I stop thinking about who I am, I will cease to be. This is the castle's fear of the tide. But let's test this fear directly, as the Buddha himself instructed. Try it right now. For a few moments, deliberately stop feeding any story about yourself. A thought arises, I am the one who is listening to this. Gently, don't continue that story. Let the sentence end. There may be a moment of emptiness, of groundlessness. That's okay. That is the space previously filled by self-referential thought. In that space, notice, are you still here? Is awareness still present? Is the breath still flowing? Of course it is. You have not vanished. You have simply ceased adding commentary to the fact of your existence. You've moved from being the actor on stage to being the aware presence in the theater. The actor has gone to his dressing room, but the theater, the capacity for experience, remains quiet and intact. I remember an original parable about a village clockmaker. He was famous for the beautiful, complex clock in the town square that he had built and which he maintained with devout care. Every gear, every weight, every chime was his responsibility. He would even lie awake at night, listening for the chimes, mentally adjusting the mechanism. His identity was the keeper of the time. One year, he had to travel far away for a season. He left detailed instructions, but he was racked with anxiety. The first night away, as the hour for the chimes approached, he sat bolt upright in his distant bed, heart pounding, waiting for a sound he could not possibly hear. But then, something happened. The moment for the chime passed in silence. And he was still there. The world had not ended. The stars still shone. He breathed. Over the following nights, the gripping anxiety slowly loosened. He discovered that while he loved being the clockmaker, his fundamental existence did not depend on it. He could simply be, without the constant mental maintenance of the clock. He returned home a more rested man, and a better clockmaker for it. Your mind, with its sense of self, is that beautiful clock. It is a marvelous, intricate creation. But you are not the clock. You are the awareness that hears its chimes. At night, you are allowed to leave the workshop. The clock will keep its own time, or it will not. Your vigil does not change its fundamental nature. When you step out of the role of the keeper, a massive amount of energy is liberated. That energy is rest. So tonight, practice being the aware presence in the theater, not the actor reciting lines of self-definition. When a thought arises about who you are or what you must defend, gently note, that is a thought about the sandcastle. And return to the feeling of the dune, the spacious, aware ground of being that holds everything. The castle may be washed away in sleep, and that is perfectly fine. You are the shore, not the sand structure. In this knowing, a deep and non-personal peace becomes available. You are not becoming nobody. You are discovering the profound peace of being no role, just for a little while. Let's continue. This exploration brings us to a crossroads of understanding, where we encounter one of the mind's most stubborn illusions, the illusion of ownership, of personalization. This is the habitual, almost reflexive, process where the mind takes any experience, a passing sensation, a fleeting thought, a surge of emotion, and stamps it with a label, mine. This is happening to me. This is me. This single mental move, Buddhism teaches, is what transforms simple, manageable pain into the complex, sticky web of suffering. Think of your awareness as a clear, still pond. Experiences are like leaves, twigs, or pebbles dropped onto its surface. They land, they create ripples, they float, they may sink. The pond simply reflects and contains them. Personalization is the process of the pond suddenly claiming, that dirty leaf is my leaf. Its decay defines my water. That jagged rock is a flaw in my essence. The pond becomes agitated, turbulent, identified with the temporary objects floating upon it, rather than resting as the deep, clear, accepting water that it is. Before sleep, this habit goes into overdrive. A knot of tension in the stomach isn't just a knot of tension, it becomes my anxiety. A fleeting memory of a mistake isn't just a memory, it becomes the story of my failure. A restless feeling in the legs isn't just energy, it becomes my insomnia. The experience itself is neutral, transient. The suffering is the extra, heavy blanket of me and mine that we tuck tightly around it, convincing ourselves we are keeping it safe, when in truth we are only ensuring we cannot move or breathe freely. Buddhist psychology offers a liberating, if initially strange, reframe. It asks us to contemplate, do thoughts need an owner to think? Does sadness need a proprietor to be felt? Does tension require a personal claimant to exist? Look closely. A thought arises due to conditions. Fatigue, something you read, a memory triggered. It is an event in the field of consciousness, like a bird crossing the sky. Does the sky own the bird? An emotion surges because of chemistry, circumstance, ingrained habit. It is a weather pattern in the atmosphere of the body. Does the atmosphere own the storm? Sensations appear and disappear based on position, temperature, health. They are simply information. Seeing this directly begins to dissolve the glue of personalization. It allows experience to be what it is, impersonal, conditioned, and passing, without the added, crushing weight of making it all about you. I will share an original story. In a large, old library, there was a dedicated librarian. She loved the books, but she had come to believe she was the library. If a book was misshelved, she felt personally disordered. If a page was torn, she felt wounded. If a reader was dissatisfied, she felt like a failure. The weight of this identification was immense. She had nightmares of collapsing shelves and fading ink. One day, a wise visitor found her weeping over a damaged manuscript. The visitor gently said, "You are not the library. You are the light in the library." The light allows every book to be seen, the rare and the common, the pristine and the torn. The light does not become the torn page. It illuminates it, impartially, and moves on. Your job is not to be every book, but to be the steady, clear light that makes reading possible. The librarian sat in the sunbeam of that understanding. She felt her shoulders drop. She could still care for the books, but the exhausting burden of being them was lifted. You are the light of awareness in the library of your mind. The thoughts, feelings, and sensations are the books, some beautiful, some troubling, some trivial. Your suffering comes from believing you are the collection, that its flaws are your identity. Your peace comes from remembering you are the aware space, the light. That allows all of it to be known, without becoming any of it. Before sleep, when the mind tries to personalize every rustle and whisper, remember, you are the quiet light in the dark library. The books can sit on their shelves, unresolved. They require nothing from you in this moment. Your only duty is to shine, softly, without judgment. In that impartial shining, the frantic energy of ownership dissipates. The mind settles. Sleep becomes the gentle dimming of the light, not the frantic reorganizing of the shelves. This practice of depersonalization is not a cold or heartless act. It is the deepest form of self-compassion. It is the end of the war you wage against your own humanity. When you stop taking a mood as a verdict on your worth, you allow the mood to complete its natural cycle. When you stop treating a thought as a command, you regain the freedom to choose your response. The body, no longer under the constant siege of personal accusation, can finally relax into its natural state of rest. You are not abandoning yourself, you are ceasing to attack the phantom of a fixed self that was causing all the pain. You are coming home to the vast, tender, impersonal awareness that was there all along, waiting patiently beneath the noise of ownership. Let's continue. As we loosen the grip of personalization, we encounter a quieter, more fundamental layer of being. This is the dimension of awareness itself, the silent, knowing presence that has been listening all along. Much of our fear, especially around sleep, is rooted in a deep-seated belief that this awareness is fragile, that it is produced and sustained by our own effort and control. We fear that if we let go, if we release the reins of thought and management, we will fall into a void, into nothingness. Buddhism meets this fear not with argument, but with a direct invitation to look at the evidence of your own experience. You have been trained to believe that constant mental activity, planning, monitoring, analyzing, is what keeps you safe and coherent. The mind, in its role as manager, equates thinking with existing. So when sleep approaches and the manager's tools, focused thought, clear narrative, begin to slip from its hands, it panics. It floods the system with one more concern, one more memory, one more plan, in a desperate bid to stay in charge, to prove it is still needed. It's like a conductor who believes the orchestra will disintegrate into cacophony if he stops waving his baton, even for a moment. But let's observe what actually happens each night. You do not decide the precise moment sleep begins. It happens to you. You do not manage the transition from wakefulness to dreaming. It unfolds on its own. Every single night, control fails. And every single morning, you return. Nothing catastrophic occurs. In fact, the most deeply restorative process your body knows depends on this failure of control. Yet the mind, the would-be conductor, treats this natural surrender as the greatest of threats. The Buddhist insight here is to notice what does not fail when control does. As you lie in bed and the thinking mind becomes fuzzy, fragmented, dreamlike, what remains? Awareness remains. It is aware of the fragmentation. It is aware of the drifting. It is aware of the silence between thoughts. This awareness is not something you produce. You do not switch it on. You do not sustain it with effort. It is the fundamental ground of your being, the screen upon which the entire movie of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep plays out. The conductor may leave the podium, but the concert hall, the space that allows for any music or silence, remains, intact and unwavering. I'd like to share an original story about a child learning to swim. She clung fiercely to the edge of the pool, convinced she would sink if she let go. Her teacher, instead of pulling her away, encouraged her to simply notice what was already happening. "Feel the water holding you up," the teacher said. "You are already floating. Your grip is the only thing making you tired." Tentatively, the child loosened her fingers. She felt the water's support. She panicked and grabbed again. But the memory of that momentary support lingered. Gradually, she learned to trust the buoyancy of the water more than the strain of her own grip. She discovered that swimming was not about frantic effort, but about cooperating with a support that was already, always present. Your mind's compulsive thinking is that grip on the edge of the pool. The fear is that if you let go, you will sink into oblivion. But awareness is the water. It is the supportive, boundless element in which all experiences float. You cannot fall out of awareness. You can only fall back into it. Sleep is not a sinking into nothingness, it is a trusting surrender into the profound, intelligent support of your own nature. The practice is to notice, again and again, that the water is holding you. In the gaps between thoughts, in the softening of control, there it is, a silent, steady, knowing presence. It doesn't come and go. It is that within which coming and going is perceived. This understanding, when felt directly rather than just believed, builds a trust deeper than any concept. You don't have to convince yourself it's safe to fall asleep. You begin to know it, because you experience the continuity of awareness every night as the mind lets go. The nervous system learns, at a cellular level, that release does not equal danger. In fact, release is the precondition for its deepest repair. So tonight, practice being the concert hall, not the conductor. Practice being the water, not the swimmer gripping the edge. As you feel the urge to manage your experience, to check if you're sleeping yet, to guide your breath, see if you can pause. Notice that awareness is already here, effortlessly holding the entire scene. You don't need to hold on to be held. You can experiment with letting the baton fall. Let attention soften and drift. Let thoughts become murmurs. Observe how awareness simply receives it all, without alarm, without need for intervention. In this atmosphere of trust, the body's innate intelligence takes over. The breath regulates itself. The heart finds its rhythm. Sleep descends not as a defeat of consciousness, but as a gentle deepening into one of its own natural states. You are not disappearing. You are discovering that you were never the fragile thing you thought you were. You are the vast, quiet space that allows everything, even the disappearance of the separate self into sleep, to happen in perfect peace. Let's settle deeper now, into one of the most practical and quietly transformative applications of all we've explored. We've learned to see thoughts as passing weather, to feel the steady sky of awareness, to stop arguing with reality. Now, we turn to the threshold itself, those final, fluid moments between waking and sleeping. Buddhism views this threshold not as a blank, passive collapse, but as a portal of profound impressionability. It is a time when the conscious, critical mind, the gatekeeper, begins to doze at his post. The walls between the conscious and subconscious soften. And whatever you consistently place in the mind's hands as it crosses this bridge is carried down into the depths, where it is woven into the very fabric of your being, influencing who you will be when you cross back at dawn. Most people, completely unaware of this process, hand the mind a bag of scrap metal and broken glass as it steps onto the bridge. They feed it a final meal of rehearsed conflicts, sharp judgments, and fear-laden projections about tomorrow. Then, they wonder why they wake feeling heavy, brittle, and defensive, why the first thoughts of the new day taste like rust and anxiety. The mind, in its obedient, consolidating work through the night, simply took the materials it was given and used them to repair and reinforce the existing structures of suffering. You wake up inside the same mental house, with the same creaking floorboards of worry, because you provided the same lumber the night before. The Buddhist approach is to become a conscious, kind architect of this transition. This is not about the aggressive, often counterproductive practice of positive thinking. Forcing cheerful affirmations when you feel despair is just another form of inner violence. It's like trying to wallpaper over cracks in a crumbling wall. The true practice is subtler, more intelligent, and far more effective. It is the practice of incline and allow. You consciously incline the mind's attention toward qualities of clarity, truth, and non-hostility in those final minutes. And then you allow whatever is present to be there within that clearer, kinder space. You change the light in the room, not the furniture. And in that new light, the furniture itself begins to look different, feel different. The cornerstone of this practice is non-hostility. This is a radical and deeply healing orientation. Non-hostility is not love, not approval, not even acceptance in the warm, embracing sense. It is a strategic, compassionate ceasefire. It is the end of the internal civil war you wage against your own experience. Think of your mind as a nation recovering from a long day of battles. As night falls, the generals of self-criticism and anxious planning want to hold one more war council. Non-hostility is the wise leader who declares, "The war is over for today. There will be no more meetings. The soldiers must rest. It means when the thought, "I failed today," arises, you don't rally the troops of shame to attack it. You also don't recruit the troops of forced positivity to deny it. You simply see the thought as a tired soldier reporting in from the front. You acknowledge his presence. The failure report has arrived. And you let him stand there, without giving him a new mission. Without the energy of your engagement, the energy of either agreement or fight. The report loses its urgency. It fades into the quiet of the barracks. I would like to share two original stories to illuminate this. The first is about a master weaver in a village known for its magnificent tapestries. This weaver, however, was plagued by perfectionism. Every evening, as the light failed, she would examine the day's work under a harsh lantern, picking out single threads she deemed imperfect. She would lie awake, her mind's eye seeing only those flawed threads, planning how to tear them out at dawn. Her tapestries were technically flawless but lacked soul, and she was perpetually exhausted. One evening, an elder asked to see her work. She held up the harsh lantern, pointing out the flaws. The elder gently took the lantern and set it aside. In the soft, fading twilight, he asked her to look again. "In this light," he said, "I see only the emerging pattern. The single thread is lost in the beauty of the whole." The night is not for examining threads under a bright light. The night is for allowing the pattern to settle into your vision, so you may continue with wisdom, not fear, in the morning. The weaver began to practice. She would end her day not with the harsh lantern of critique, but by sitting in the dim quiet, simply sensing the whole cloth. The flawed threads, unpicked at by her frantic mental fingers, often integrated themselves into the design in ways she could never have planned. Her sleep became deep, and her work, finally, became beautiful. Your mind is that tapestry. The harsh lantern is the hostile, picky, critical attention you shine on your day, your actions, your feelings. The soft twilight is the light of non-hostile awareness. Before sleep, your practice is to set down the harsh lantern. You are not approving of the flaws. You are simply changing the light by which you view them. In the gentle light of awareness, the single thread of a mistake loses its devastating importance and is seen as part of a much larger, still unfolding pattern of a life. This is how you end the war. You don't win it, you stop fighting by changing the conditions of perception. The second story is about a musician with sensitive ears who moved to a city. At night, he was tormented by the sounds of traffic, sirens, and distant voices. He would lie in bed, fists clenched, resisting each sound, labeling it an enemy of silence. His resistance created such internal tension that sleep was impossible. One night, in despair, he remembered an old teacher's advice: do not listen to the sounds. Listen in the space around the sounds. He tried it. Instead of focusing on the blare of a siren, he focused on the silence that preceded it and followed it. He noticed how each sound arose from silence, hung in the air, and dissolved back into silence. He wasn't trying to love the sirens. He was simply shifting his attention from the hostile object to the peaceful field that contained it. The sounds didn't change. But his relationship to them did. They became events in a silent space, not invaders of his peace. That night, he slept. The external noise was the same, but the internal war, the resistance, had ended. Your thoughts before sleep are those city sounds. Hostility is focusing on them, fighting them, wishing they were different. Non-hostility is resting as the silent, aware space that hears them come and go. You are not trying to create a silent mind, a silent city. You are discovering the silent awareness that is already present, within which the noisy mind exists. This is the ultimate night practice, to rest as the listening space, not get lost in the things heard. So, how do we practically incline the mind in this way? It is a gentle recollection, a setting of intention. In the last quiet minutes, you might softly remember. I am not my thoughts. They are sounds in the silent room of awareness. Whatever is present is already changing. No state is final. My worth is not on trial tonight. The court is adjourned. These are not affirmations to chant with gritted teeth. They are truths to touch lightly, like turning a precious stone in your hand to feel its facets. You are reminding the mind of its true nature, orienting it like a compass needle toward north. Then, you allow. You allow the tired body to sink. You allow the breath to find its own natural rhythm. You allow thoughts to pass like ships in a distant harbor. You are not the ship, nor the captain. You are the still water reflecting the moon, and the vast, dark sky holding it all. In this atmosphere of permission and spaciousness, the nervous system receives its final, definitive safety signal. It is a signal more powerful than any locked door or solved problem. All is well at the level of being. Awareness is present, and it is untroubled. This signals the deepest possible shift into the parasympathetic state, the state of rest, repair, and integration. This nightly practice of conscious seating, of ending the day in non-hostile awareness, does something remarkable over time. It rewires the baseline. Just as a path through a meadow becomes entrenched by daily footsteps, the neural pathways of reactivity and self-attack become entrenched by nightly rumination. But when you walk a new path each night, the path of resting as the peaceful, observing space, that too becomes entrenched. You are not just getting better sleep. You are gradually, incrementally, building a new mental landscape. You wake up not to a barrage of hostile thoughts, but to a clearer, steadier field of awareness from which you can meet the day. The problems may be the same, but the you who meets them is less conditioned by unseen, nightly reinforcements of fear and self-judgment. Therefore, tonight, and every night, see the moments before sleep as sacred responsibility to your future self. Not a chore, but a gift. You are the gentle architect of dawn. Put down the harsh lantern. Listen in the space around the sounds. Incline the mind toward the silent sky of its own nature. And then, with the profound trust of a leaf falling from a tree, allow yourself to be carried across the threshold into the healing dark. You are not just going to sleep. You are practicing, in the most concrete way, the art of inner peace. Now, we arrive at the integration. We have journeyed through the landscape of the night mind, exploring its illusions and its profound truth. We have seen the ceaseless radio broadcast of thought and remembered we are the listener in the quiet room. We have felt the exhausting rowing of craving toward distant shores and discovered the peaceful bank of the present moment. We have witnessed the impermanent flow of all things and learned to trust the river. We've laid down the weapons of resistance, set aside the tools of self-construction, and released the heavy burden of personalizing every ripple in our pond. We have even glimpsed the silent, steady light of awareness that holds it all, and we have practiced tending the final moments of our day with the gentle hand of a night gardener. Now, it is time to let all these insights dissolve. To let the map fade away, and simply rest in the territory of being. This final part is not a new teaching. It is a guided homecoming, a synthesis into wordless understanding, a direct pointing to the peace that has been here all along. So, let everything you have heard soften at the edges. Let the concepts blur. There is no exam to pass. There is simply this moment, and your intimate, effortless awareness of it. Make yourself as comfortable as you can. Allow your body to be held completely by whatever supports it. Feel the gentle pull of gravity, a constant, faithful invitation to let go, to surrender weight. And now, let us begin this final integration, this gentle unraveling into sleep. First, bring a kind attention to the body. Not to change it, but to feel it. Scan slowly from the crown of the head down to the soles of the feet. Notice sensations without naming them good or bad. Pressure. Temperature. Tingling. Heaviness. Lightness. These are just sensations, appearing and disappearing in the field of feeling. They are not you, they are events you are aware of. Let the body be as it is. It knows how to rest. It has been waiting for your permission to stop holding on. Whisper to it, inwardly, it is safe to rest now. The work of the day is done. Now, bring that same kind attention to the breath. Do not control it. Observe it as a curious, gentle witness. Feel the cool air entering the nostrils. The slight pause. The warm air leaving. The rise and fall of the chest or belly. The breath breathes itself. It is a perfect, involuntary rhythm of life, happening on its own. You are not the breather. You are the awareness that knows the breathing. Rest as that knowing. Let the breath be shallow or deep, slow or quick. It is all perfectly fine. Your only task is to notice it, to be the space in which this ancient rhythm unfolds. As you rest here, in awareness of body and breath, thoughts will continue to arise. This is natural. They are the final flickers of the day's momentum. See them now with all the understanding we have gathered. See them as impersonal events. Like clouds forming and dissolving in the sky of your mind. A cloud of memory. A cloud of planning. A cloud of a fragment of song. See them appear. Notice the subtle pull to follow them, to step into their story. And then, with the gentleness of a feather touching water, return your attention to the feeling of the breath. You are not fighting the clouds. You are simply choosing to rest your attention on the steady, ever-present sky. Each time you notice you have been carried away by a thought, it is a moment of waking up, a moment of freedom. Thank the thought for showing up, and let it drift on. No frustration. No self-judgment. Just a gentle, continuous returning to the anchor of present moment sensation, the breath, the weight of the body. Now, let's deepen into the space around the thoughts. Listen to the silence that holds the sound of these words. In the pauses between sentences, there it is. A living, pregnant silence. That same silence is in the gaps between your thoughts. Begin to notice those gaps, however brief. The moment one thought ends and before the next one begins, there is a sliver of pure, open awareness. No story. No problem. Just being. Rest there. Don't try to make the gap longer. Just appreciate its presence, like noticing the sparkle of dew between blades of grass. This silence is not empty. It is full of peace. It is your natural state. From this space of silent awareness, feel the boundaries of the body beginning to soften. The edges between skin and air become less distinct. You are not just a body lying in a room. You are a field of awareness that includes the body, the breath, the sounds, the darkness behind your eyelids. You are the open space in which the entire experience of this night is happening. Let go of the feeling of being a solid, separate thing located in the head. Feel instead that you are everywhere that your attention rests. You are in the feeling of the toes. You are in the sound of the distant hum. You are in the coolness of the pillow. Awareness is not in you, you are in awareness, and awareness is everywhere. In this expansive, boundaryless feeling, repeat these core understandings silently, not as words to think about, but as truths to sink into. I am not my thoughts. I am the awareness that knows them. I do not need to solve anything to deserve peace. Peace is my nature when striving ceases. Nothing in this moment is permanent. Everything is allowed to change, including my discomfort. I am not in control of the transition to sleep. I can only offer a willing surrender to it. Feel the deep, cellular release that accompanies each one. You are not acquiring these truths. You are remembering what you have always, deep down, known. Now, I will share one final, original story, a metaphor for this entire journey into sleep. Imagine a great, ancient tree at the end of a long day of sunlight and wind. The tree has been active, photosynthesizing, drawing water from the deep earth, hosting birds, swaying in the breeze. Now, night falls. The tree does not try to sleep. It doesn't clutch its leaves or tense its branches against the dark. It simply lets go of the day's activity. It surrenders to the pull of the earth. Its roots relax into the soil. Its leaves cease their busy work and simply rest. The wind may still blow through its branches, creating a whisper. That whisper is not the tree's problem to solve. It is just a sound passing through. The tree's essence is in its deep, silent core and its roots in the dark, nurturing ground. It trusts the night. It knows that in this surrender, it is not disappearing, it is being restored, deepened, strengthened for whatever the next day may bring. You are that tree. Your thoughts are the wind in the branches, sometimes a gentle rustle, sometimes a storm. Your awareness is the deep, silent core and the roots reaching into the dark ground of being. Your body is the sturdy trunk, grounded and supported. Tonight, practice being the whole tree. Feel your roots, your connection to life itself, to the support beneath you. Rest in your silent core, the aware presence that cannot be disturbed. And let the wind of thought blow through. Don't become the wind. Don't fight the wind. Be the tree, deeply rooted in the present, resting in the trustworthy dark. As you rest here, as the tree resting in the night, let go of any remaining sense of effort. Let go of listening. Let go of following these words. Allow the voice to become just another sound in the night, no more or less important than the sound of your own breath or the quiet of the room. The guidance is over. The pointing is done. What remains is you, exactly as you are, in this perfect, unfinished moment. There is nothing to achieve. Nothing to hold on to. Nothing to fix. You are already home. You are awareness itself, temporarily experiencing the forms of a body, a mind, a life. And now, awareness is ready to fold gently into itself, into the formless rest we call sleep. So, completely, utterly, let go. Not as an action, but as a cessation. Stop following. Stop holding. Stop even trying to let go. Simply be. The breath will breathe. The heart will beat. The thoughts will come and go. And you are the space for all of it. Vast. Quiet. At peace. The night welcomes you. The deep, healing rest of the tree awaits. Surrender into it now. All is well.